Okay, quick note before we start things off here. YouTube is doing like a spam bot purge of a lot of the subscriptions that are going on. So if you were subscribed to my channel and if you want to still be subscribed to my channel, you might actually need to resubscribe to it. And of course, ring the notification bell. Anyway, on with the review. When Miles Morales is bitten by a radioactive spider from another dimension, he suddenly finds himself imbued with the same abilities as the Amazing Spider-Man. However, an attempt to help Spidey unfortunately results in Peter Parker's untimely death at the hands of the Kingpin. Things go from strange to even stranger when another Peter Parker from another dimension shows up. Not only that, but also a Gwen Stacy, who was the Spider-Woman of her dimension, a Spider-Man from a 1930s-like dimension known as Spider Noir, a Japanese girl named Penny Parker from the year 3145, and a pig named Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. Together they all have to work to, well, return themselves back to their own dimensions and stop Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, from turning on a super collider that could destroy everything, including Miles' hometown of Brooklyn. On top of all of this, Miles discovers that his beloved Uncle Aaron is, in fact, one of the Kingpin's top goons in The Prowler. This is Into the Spider-Verse. So, yeah, this is a really enjoyable film. I'll say that right off the bat. I'll try not to get too plot detail heavy, but yeah, basically the assembled spiders have to coach Miles because he's too new into his powers. He doesn't quite know how to fully harness them yet. They also have to work on trying to get back to their dimensions because when they're in Miles's dimension, they're glitching out, their bodies are kind of deteriorating a little bit, and there's unique facets with each of these characters, obviously. I said the 1930s Spider Noir character, voiced by Nicolas Cage. Spider-Gwen, these are all characters that appeared in the comics, so Spider-Gwen, that's usually what she's called, is Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy, who got the Spider-Man, got the spider ability, was bitten by the radioactive spider, I mean, and her Peter Parker turned into the Lizard and unfortunately wound up getting killed, and so he's actually kind of her analog to Uncle Ben. Penny Parker's father gets killed, and Penny has a psychic link to a spider robot that can merge into other technologies and, you know, turn into a much larger spider robot. And Peter Porker is a pig, and there's a lot of animal puns in his world. That's kind of it. And the Kingpin's modus operandi for starting the Super Collider project is because his wife and child in Miles' universe died in a car accident after they discovered, you know, that he was a criminal, and he's trying to find a parallel universe, Vanessa and Richard, and bring them there so that he can have a family again, or possibly even more. So that, yeah, like I said, you can't. As Peter said, I know what you're trying to do. The Peter who gets killed says, "I know what you're trying to do, and you can't save them." The Peter Parker. I'll call him Peter 2 just for the sake of this. Peter 2 that Miles bumps into and is the first one that you see, the one with the scenes at the diner, the scenes at the grave. This is the scene that was at the end of the Venom movie. He, in his role, he's like even more of a loser than the actual Peter Parker is. Like, Peter Parker in Miles's universe is rather successful. He's married to Mary Jane, everything is good, he seems to be running like a good business. Most people like Spider-Man except for Jefferson, Miles' father. And like I said, overall he's a pretty good guy. In Peter 2's universe, he and MJ got divorced because she wanted kids and he didn't. May died. He invested in a Spider-Man themed fast casual restaurant, TGI Spidey's, and lost all his money. And yeah, it's like, it's just even worse and worse and worse and worse. I would say probably a little bit on the drawback is Peter Porker and Spider-Man Noir and Penny Parker are a little underdeveloped. Like, you get little pieces of that. Spider-Man Noir, his uncle Benjamin, instead of his uncle Ben, was killed. And Peter Porker, you don't really get everything into his origin at all, really. Penny's father was killed. That's like their analogs to Uncle Ben in this case, yeah. And one of the things that, like I said, the problem is they're trying to basically coach Miles into being Spider-Man while also trying to work on getting home. In fact, at several points they basically tell Miles he's not ready and he really should not be trying to help them. But of course, over the course of the film, like I said, Miles discovers that his uncle is in fact the Prowler and is working for the Kingpin, and Miles eventually reveals his identity to the Prowler, and the Prowler sort of hesitates in killing him, and as a result, the Kingpin shoots him and kills him. And Aaron Davis is Miles' uncle. And Jefferson finds Miles standing over Aaron's body and thinks, he doesn't know that Miles is Spider-Man, but yeah, he sees this new Spider-Man standing over Aaron's body, and even though the relationship between the two is rather strained, it's obviously very affecting to him. I guess the other thing I should mention is Miles is at like a charter / boarding school because his parents are working even harder to try to get him a better education, but he actually doesn't want it. He wants to be more with his friends in Brooklyn. And he, at the beginning of the film, he actually tries to bomb a test. He actually tries to bomb it. He intentionally tries to give the wrong answers to everything, but his teacher knows this, and it's like, just, you know, try to adjust as best you can. Like, one of the other things I actually like about it, too, is when the other Spider people, for lack of a better term, cross over from their universes. They don't do it all at the same time. Like, Spider-Man Noir and Peter Porker and Penny Parker all came like much earlier in the timeline, and Gwen Stacy came like a week before the event actually happens when she arrives in there, and that's how she actually meets Miles a little bit, and the two start flirting a little bit. And when Miles gets bitten, he actually grows a little bit. So he tries to put on his school uniform the next day, and it's like it's really tight and he can't fit anymore. He's talking to Gwen, and he tries, because his uncle earlier in the film tries to teach him a flirtation maneuver by putting his hand on the girl's shoulder. And so he's trying to do this, and of course the Spider-Man powers, he gets his fingers stuck in her hair, and she winds up having to shave part of her head. The animation in this film is really, it's crazy because it looks like it was stop motion. That's the best way I could describe it. It looks like it's stop motion, but it's CGI. Like, they look like real figures. And not so much like real people, but like they were, like some real figures. Like I said, it looks stop motion. Like I said, if I do have a bit of a drawback is, again, we get this repetitive joke that keeps happening where each of the spider people keeps reciting their origins over and over and over. It's like, okay, yeah, you could have maybe trimmed... I wonder how much they could try to stream this down just a bit, and it could have worked a little bit better. Because this film is 2 hours long, and there are times it really feels like it's 2 hours long. But overall, I'm going to give this an A. I really did like this. I'm trying to be as short as I can on this. It's rather late. I'm going to we'll touch a bit now on the post-credit scenes. There's not too much here. There's a tribute to Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Obviously, I'm wondering they got this in a little bit under the radar because obviously Stan Lee passed away. And after that, we get Miguel O'Hara, who is Spider-Man of the year 2099, and he has a collider of his own that actually allows him to travel through the multiverses. And the first one he winds up in is the universe of the 1960s Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can cartoon, and he's trying to talk to that Peter Parker, and they're just at this point where they're both pointing at each other. It's like, stop pointing at me! Don't you stop pointing at me! Don't you stop pointing at me! And as this is happening, like J. Jonah Jameson is seeing this, and he's confused as to which Spider-Man they're supposed to try to get. That's pretty good. And that's pretty much it right there. I hope I managed to streamline this down. Obviously, the film ends, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse ends with the collider that the Kingpin built being destroyed, and all the Spider people returning to their own universes, and Miles kind of fully becoming Spider-Man, the Spider-Man of his universe. Though it does end a little bit with Miles relaxing in bed, and then suddenly getting a message from Gwen Stacy again. So just a little bit to that. Like I said, this gets an A, so I already put that up there.
Turn us on, we'll turn you on. Turn on to Mary. It's Mary Tyler Moore with a whole season of comedy and a brand new show. You'll see comedy as only Mary can do it, with dance, song, and an outrageous family of regulars. M is for magic, M is for mischievous, M is for marvelous. But most of all, this fall, M is for Mary.
Turn us on. We'll turn you on.
Okay, trailer time, and we only had one new film here, so we got a lot of retreads. We had Lego Movie 2, but this one actually had like a little behind-the-scenes featurette before it, and then they went into the trailer. We had Ugly Dolls again, then The Kid Who Would Be King again, then Secret Life of Pets 2, How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World, Bumblebee, then our new film, which is this religious film called Overcomer, from the people who brought you War Room, the movie where a woman literally prays her husband's diarrhea so he doesn't cheat on her. Yes, that is an actual film with an actual plot point like that. And then we had A Dog's Way Home, or Dog's Journey Home, or whatever. They show the whole movie in that trailer, and it's like they literally show the whole movie in that trailer. So anyway, next movie review is going to be Mary Poppins Returns. The next video is going to be the Daredevil Yellow review. I've got that written, I've got the scans, I just need to shoot the video and record the audio for it. And then after that it's going to be the WWE TLC 2018 review, recap and review. See you all next time. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? If it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.